Servus and welcome to the world of marketing jobs, the podcast where I am taking you on a marketing journey of job awareness, consideration, and application. And in this episode, we will talk about a very special job I find very interesting, the job of a communications consultant. And for that, I invited the wonderful Laura Sophie Dvorak-Maihoffer to discuss this topic with me. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Sonja. I'm so glad to be with you today.
The pleasure is all mine, and I can't wait to hear what your job is all about. Let's jump right into it, I would say, with
Sure.
some this or that questions. I'm always going to give you two options, and you say which one fits your job better, B2B or B2C.
B2C, definitely.
Are you working in a SME or a large corporation?
A large corporation which has its up and downs.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. So large corporation means that you are working international, or is it still on the local end?
Mostly on the local end, but at some perspectives, I work with a lot of international not clients, but more international colleagues.
Super interesting. So are you working in an agency or in-house?
Agency.
And would you consider yourself a full stack marketer or a specialist?
I would say kind of both, but more or less a specialist.
Is your team small or big?
Depends on what you define a team. My colleagues, my dearest colleagues, are a group of now five people, so it's relatively small.
And would you say, are you working structured or flexible?
I think in marketing, you always have to be a little bit flexible, but I try to work as structured as possible.
Great. So now we get a little first overview of your job, and you were telling us that you're working in a large corporation which has some ups and downs. What would you say, from your experience, what is it all about? Does it differ from SME if you worked in that setting, maybe?
Well, a large corporation has always the advantage of being network, it being a network, and for all the advantages that a network work brings, like having someone on the other end of the world who has a similar problem as you and probably a great solution about it. So there are a lot of people you can rely on in the back. But on the other hand, it can be very frustrating because things are moving very slow sometimes in a big corporation, especially when it comes to, I don't know, when you want a new coworker and they have to make up some money for him or she or her, sorry. And that's that can be very frustrating because a lot of times we really need some more helping hands, and we just don't get it because someone in Japan is blocking it, someone in London is blocking it, so it can be quite frustrating. But there are a lot more advantages, I would say, because you have so many great people you can rely on and can learn from, really. Especially because we are in like every country on the world, around the globe. So there are very few countries where we don't have a quarter, and Yeah, that's kind of interesting because there are a lot of different opportunities also for you. You can just go and visit in your next vacation some of your colleagues you have internationally, which is kind of exciting.
Definitely. Like I worked in an international setting too, and I think when you are a marketer, it's also a good skill to know how different cultures work, different people work, and working in an international setting can really benefit you understanding people better and you doing a better job as a marketer. And also with soft skills, interpersonal skills, I think it's a very great thing to have in a young age or really any age really if you are one of the social people who takes advantage of that, of course. You were mentioning that you're kind of both, so specialist and full stack market. Is this because as a communication consultant there are some areas where you are really the specialist, or is it more so that you tackle different areas in different, or how would you explain your
I
answer?
think a lot of times in my job, I have to do some work that I really don't specialized in. So I'm all in digital marketing, but somehow end up doing some radio campaigns or doing some print campaigns, which isn't like my job description really. But also I created a task force, an AI task force in 2024, in the beginning of 2024, which let me specialize in AI a lot and kind of becoming a specialist in this area quite well, which is quite interesting and quite challenging as well because, well, the technology is changing really fast. But yeah, that's why I would call myself a full stack marketer as well as a specialist.
Very clear. And I know from your education path a little bit because we studied together actually in our bachelor's in marketing and communication. And I thought it really interesting to see your path evolving as this AI expert, someone working in an agency. So it's really fascinating to see how studying more or less the same. We had different in-depth studies, but our broad general bachelor's was the same. To see all the options, the possibilities you have within marketing to specialize yourselves or to dip in a little bit. So that was a really lovely development to see.
Thank you. I think your path is quite impressive as well.
Thank you. Coming back to your job as a communication consultant, how would your job slogan look like?
Mm, for me, it would be stay curious, I think, because especially in digital marketing, the world is really moving very fast, and there are so many things that you could do if you just try to innovate and try to experience digital marketing as it is, like really fast paced. And when you have a curious mind and an open mindset, I think you can do really great campaigns and go really far and do really innovative shit.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most crucial skills to have when you are a marketer because there's so many questions you can ask, but you won't get an answer if you're not curious enough to the right people or find a good medium that gives you the answers you need. So definitely a very fitting slogan. We heard a little bit about your job already. So we heard something about campaigns, we heard about working internationally. So how would you pin it down? What's your job exactly?
Well, I'm mostly in a media agency first. So I have my clients, some local clients in Austria, which are really diverse. I mean, they couldn't be more different from each other. And it depends really. Mostly, I just develop a strategy for a certain target my client has. For example, for generating more leads in a particular topic, for instance, they want more new customer, new clients, and have this really difficult background really, because I also work with gambling clients, for instance, which are really restricted in Austria. So we try to do our best to take all the opportunities digital marketing really has, so that we can generate as much leads as possible, or get awareness for a certain topic. And that's makes it really interesting, because there are so many targets that you could get, and so many goals that you could get. And in the end, you have to think of a strategy where you can get the most of with very little money often, and try to be as efficient as possible. So mostly I plan a campaign. I really work on a strategy, look at what my target audience is, then set up the campaign, which is sometimes very easy, because the campaigns are sometimes really small, sometimes really simple, quite simple. But sometimes we have like so many creatives, so many different media partners, so many publishers that we work with, which makes it quite interesting, because you have a lot of different partners that you work in along the way, which we have all the same goal. And it's quite satisfying when a campaign goal is met, and when the campaign ends and you report it, and the numbers look satisfactory.
I could only imagine what that feeling feels like when it just all works out, when the puzzle pieces fit together. You were mentioning that you look at target group research. I know that you did in-depth media planning in your bachelor's. Is that something that you still use in your job, that you look at some studies or some? Can you walk me through how that looks like for you? What are some
Yeah,
tips and
definitely.
tricks?
Data is everything in my field, because in the end, all target groups are basically data that we or someone else collected and that we use. Of course, there are many different kind of data. Seeing the problem also with third-party cookies, that you can't use them, or it was said that we can't use them anymore, but now it's all different. But there were many solutions that we looked at with first party data, with different different methods for actually getting to your audience, besides the basic looking for your environment, and just targeting an economics field and sports field or whatever. but really get to know what your target audience is like. So we have an own research department at our media agency, which who provide us with a lot of internal data that we collected. But we also work really close with publishers who have great solutions and kind of mix it all together. So we have in the end a really good targeting in the end, so that we get the users that we want. But in and nowadays it's getting more easily, but also more complicated with AI also, because there are great solutions from Google, for instance, who really where your campaign goal is met quite easily, but it's very intransparent. So you basically don't know where you really are published and where your ads are and in which environments, but you somehow get the leads, and you always have to question if that is the way to go, or if it's like not that qualified traffic that you get.
Very
I don't
clear.
know if it was clear.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So it's really about having the right partners on board, having an internal database, and trying to see how the data you have fits with a specific client and their target group they're addressing. Also keeping in mind that you mentioned your with a more sensitive background as such as gambling, that you need to really pay attention where your ads are being displayed, etc. That's very clear. And you were also
Exactly.
mentioning campaigns. I think nowadays, when you hear campaign, the first word that comes to mind is social media. And you mentioned radio, so your is a little bit broader when it comes to campaigns, right?
Yeah. So in my field, campaign means everything you basically do, which has paid media in it. So if you use radio, if you use TV, if you use out of home, digi out of home, but also classic banners, online display banners, or social media, like you mentioned, it all comes down to paid ads that you go live with.
Very clear. Should we now dive into the tools? What do you say? It's
If you
good.
want to, sure.
What tools do you use? How, aside from maybe the classics like Microsoft or Google, is there anything in particular you use that helps you to master your day to day?
Well, AI is definitely a great part. So at my agency, it's Copilot that gives us a lot of freedom to or it gives us the opportunity to use it more efficiently and to work a little bit smarter, I would say. But basically we use like so many tools from day to day. So I mentioned that we are partnering with Google, with AdForm, all the great DSPs, SSPs, and so many other tools. There are like I think in my work week I probably use around 30 tools at least. So there are quite much tools that we're basically using, from market research with focus, for instance, until the ad stacks with AdForm, Google, the trade desk. So we use really, really quite much tools, but the fun thing is that we, like I mentioned, have Copilot and currently are developing some helps. So we developing agents, but also basic chatbots that help the different teams to be a little bit more structured and have a little bit more efficient work in the background, so they can work more efficiently with AI.
You were mentioning you have a lot of different tools. Is there something that you would recommend that at a couple of them you look at before applying to such a role, or that you do some trainings about? Or was it in your case really like a learning by doing on the job, and you wouldn't call this like as a specific prerequisite that you need to have in order to do that?
Well, I would say that it always is good to get a first look into the tools you use. So, especially with the big tools like with AdForm, with Google, with every product of Google like DV360, Google Campaign Manager, with Google Analytics, you can get so much free training. So, if you have the time and are willing to do this, is probably will give you an advantage, and you can become really quickly an expert at your field, because some people still trying to avoid learning those tools, especially when you're in a strategy role, opposed to an operative role. But it is really recommendable that you look into all the free resources that are out there. So get a course for Salesforce, get a course for whatever. DV360 is definitely advisable because it's like a branch standard, so you can never go wrong with having some knowledge of these tools.
Is there anything you would say that is not your job? Or a colleague comes to you on the table, it's Thursday, 3 p.m., and you have a lot on your plate to finish until Friday. What would be something that you can gladly say, thank you, I know a colleague who knows that better?
Well, there are probably a lot of things out there that isn't my job. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people who really need to learn to delegate those things. So there are definitely some administrative things that are definitely not my job. Still end up doing them. And like I mentioned, I am a digital marketing consultant. So I basically do a lot of classical media like out of home, like radio, print campaigns, which isn't really the job that I was applying to. So that would definitely count to it. So uh, to all the people who will hear this, who watch this, try really to delegate. It will help you a lot and save you a lot of time.
Definitely a full stack market I'm interviewing then.
Yeah, I try to be more specialist than full stack marketer, but it comes with the job to do a lot more things than you're supposed to do, because especially in an agency, it will always and you will always end up doing a little bit more that's out of your job description.
But it allows you to grow and to learn, and definitely makes you an important asset in the company when you're able to manage a lot of different tasks, if you like them or not. But I think it's a good skill to have, to be able to know a lot.
Yeah, like you said, it definitely brings you to different situations and also different challenges that you can master after that, which are probably hard at first because you really don't want to do them, but do them anyway. But you get to know yourself and also your field a little. That's probably why I also doing another bachelor degree right now after doing a bachelor and a master already, because I literally fell in love with a new field. And yeah, I would definitely say try some things that are a little bit out of your comfort zone. You never know where they will take you.
What a good introduction to the job persona, then. I think we got to know you as a person already a little bit. So you're a curious person, you have the go getter attitude, you don't shy away from new things and way how you can adapt to different situations. What would you say is additionally part of this job persona?
I think my job persona is as unique as myself because I'm trying to create a new job that isn't there in the company right now. And my goal is actually to get a little bit away from the campaigns right now and dive into innovation management, process management, and do a little bit digitalization in where it's necessarily needed. So it's really essential to have someone that tells you not to stop and settle, but always innovate and trying to create a new way to work with different tools, with different processes that are like so outdated that you need to take a closer look and um, try to fix them. So basically, I would say my job persona is now a little bit different to like half a year ago, because I'm also developing and trying to fit into a new role and educating myself quite thoroughly. So I think in my job, education is like a priority, and you just can't take a hold and take a breath, but always have to hustle a little bit.
A good example for those who are maybe now in a bachelor's and have this very clear idea of what they're doing, that this might not particularly be where you end up. Um, I started with you in a very marketing and communication, very broad masters, and then we all went into our specific specialization and evolved within them. And I think never stop learning and being this person that doesn't stand still is a really crucial skill as a marketer, to know that what I know today might not help me tomorrow, and to really try to evolve, to change. So very interesting job persona and very relevant for today's workforce, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting more and more challenging to really establish yourself, and uh, the threat is hanging all above us that AI will replace some of our jobs. But if you get to know the tools you're working with, get to know the new trends and innovation, I think you can really take a detour and get an advantage of it.
Would you say this is one of your golden nuggets, being able to adapt?
Um, I mean, I'm still human. Change can be tricky and change can be hard, but I think as a marketer, I would say I really try to adapt as much as possible. So, yeah, let's call it a golden nugget.
Do you have any more in mind that you would like to share?
Mm, this is really hard. I would say, especially in marketing today, still stay humble. As a young marketeer, you always think you're like always know something better than others do, who have a lot more work experience than you do. And for some fields, if you have a good education, it definitely applies, but you can learn so much more from a person. So I would say stay humble is definitely also something that you should keep in mind, and keep as a golden nugget, so that you can appreciate every person you meet, and network with, and try to get the most out of this person.
Clear. Let's narrow it down to the job value proposition, I would say. To start off, bring it to a short, concise sentence to bring us back to your job as a communication consultant. Let's jump into it, don't we?
Sure.
A communication consultant
Helps clients to reach their goals, and being satisfied and be their own stars, and at their own companies, because it always also here the motto applies: stay humble. Your clients are the stars, not you.
who want to then to narrow it down.
Who want to deliver the most innovative campaign, and also win awards with it, because we are currently in award season, especially in September and October. There are a lot of awards for really good campaigns, for great campaigns, like ERB WebAd, for instance, where you can shine on your own. I mean, you still should put the clients on the pedestal, and stay humble here. But it's definitely also a good way to shine a little bit of your own.
By reducing.
By reducing inefficiency, I would say. In our job, we should always try to work as efficiently as possible, and also get our clients to work as efficiently as possible. So if there are some parts that, or some people who are blocking the way of greatness and innovation, don't be afraid to call them out, and tell them nicely how you could innovate, and change the process, so you can work more efficiently, and reach your goals much better.
And increasing.
Increasing leads and satisfaction with your customers and clients.
Very clear. So we're now almost at the end, which means that it's time for the question of my previous guest, which in your case was me, because last episode I did my first ever solo episode, reflecting a little bit on my journey. Because on the 25th of September, I closed a very important chapter, which in my case was my educational chapter and my first work experience alongside my bachelor's and master's.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So, my question for you is, what is your spark? What fuels you? What really keeps you going as a person or as a marketer? However you want to answer it.
I think as a person and as a marketer, it's what fuels me is to wake up in the morning and knowing there are so many things that I don't know of, and that I can learn and use for my own purposes, to use to let my client shine, let my colleague shine, and let myself shine. So helping each other out with news and information to really get out the best of everyone's job is kind of what fuels me.
I couldn't think of a better way to summarize you as a person, because I always I met you as someone who really tries to bring the best out of everyone, who never shies away to learn new things, to step out of her comfort zone. If it was like some of the group projects we did together, where I was like literally so impressed when you came out of a weekend of brainstorming with an idea I never even heard of before. And so I think that really speaks for you as a person, and that's something I really value in you,
Thank
because
you.
you don't take yourself as the greatest marketer there is, but you still see the improvement there is. And yeah, you're such a lovely person to work with. And as you say it yourself, difficult doesn't mean impossible. It just means that you have to work hard. So, very good summary of yourself.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Let's end this podcast with the question for the next guest. Do you have a question in mind?
Mm, what was the last thing that really excited you?
That's a really good question. I'm curious to see, because it can be interpreted in so many different ways. And with the variety we have in marketing jobs, the variety of jobs we have in marketing, the other way around, way around, I think the answer can be very different from one person to another. So I think you're as curious as me who the next person will be and how the answer will
Definitely.
be.
I definitely stay tuned to hear the next episode.
Thanks so much for your time and energy today. It was such a pleasure to see you again after 2 years not seeing us. And in the meantime, so many things happened. And I'm glad I had this little checkup with you. And I think it's super special to know what your friends are doing, even though you don't see them every day. Every time I'm happy to see your developments on LinkedIn. And I can't wait to see how your little career pivot comes to action, and how your communication consultant role changes, and you will communicate about that.
Definitely. I can't wait to see where you're going as well.
Thank you so much. And for those listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this World of Marketing Jobs episode with Laura Sophie. A little tongue twister at the end.
It's your
Yeah,
French kicking in.
exactly. Bilingual. I'm not capable of speaking anymore. Anyways, thank you so much, and pussy. Bye bye.
Bye.